3 experienced cave divers. Travel to Athens, Greece. Desire to explore the beautiful waters. Famous tourist attractions. Under this tranquil swimming paradise. Hidden a mystery and largely unknown. Explored caves. System latent. Sailors seek thrills deep into the unknown. Set foot on. They hope to become a once-in-a-lifetime explorer. Dangerous journey. However, they are in the cave. Diving? Almost every possible mistake was made. Turned the expedition into a desperate life and death struggle. Eventually, they were sucked into a bottomless hole. No news since then. This is what today's logging community calls invincible. Lake Vuriagomeni diving event. Lake Vuriagomeni is located in the Saronic Gulf, just a few hundred meters away, about 24 kilometers from the center of Athens. It is a beautiful and popular tourist swimming spot. Although the lake area is only about 2.6 square kilometers, but its stunning landforms and stunning scenery make up for the lack of area. The lake is clear, blue and stunning views of the Caribbean Sea. On one side are sheer cliffs. On the other side is a lively holiday park. Every year, countless tourists and local residents come here. On a comfortable pond chair by the lake. Relax under the umbrella. People usually come from swimming, picnic soaking up the sun, and immerse yourself in the picturesque lakes and mountains. At the same time, others are enriched by the lake, mineral spring water attraction. It is said that these spring water has healing properties, can relieve asthmatic arthritis, chronic disease. However, beneath this tranquil and peaceful lake, hidden in an intricate cave, shooting and channel networks for these tranquil waters adds a layer of mystery. According to official records, cave system under Lake Vuriagomeni. It was first developed in the 1940s by a German diving team conducts initial exploration. They were facing a narrow hole. The water in the cave is fast and fierce. This current intensity, something they had never encountered before. Divers are unsure whether they will be. Inhale the depths of the cave, still safe. Travel through the past. Although fraught with risk, they still chose to enter. These determined explorers navigate through a dark and complex underwater labyrinth. After each dive, draw a rough map from memory. Although they have made considerable progress, but due to the cave, it's massive and it's incredibly complex. A large part of the region remains unexplored. Near the entrance, they found a large piece of jewelry. There are no less than 14 separate channels here. Extends in almost every direction. The largest of these passages extends over 790 meters. It reaches about 150 meters at its widest point. Show hole. There may be huge cavities in the cave. In fact, German divers speculated that these passages may be connected to a larger one nearby. Big cave. System connected, but their exploration stops there. Also, to continue to deepen, these unknown passages will be extremely dangerous. On the other side of the earth, Mark Gramford and Joan. The Gramford siblings are in California, USA. Sacramento grew up. The brother and sister have been close since childhood, but as adults, each embarked on a different life path. Mark became a painter, and the poor joined the U.S. Air Force. Soon after, Joan was dispatched to the Air Force Base in Athens, Greece, about 11,000 kilometers from home. It only makes the siblings miss each other's company more. In Greece, Poor with a colleague Donald who is 10 years older than him. Masad formed a deep friendship. The two discovered that they both loved scuba diving. This interest quickly became theirs. The bond of one. In fact, their shared interests, prompting them during their stay, frequently explore the underwater world of Greece. By the spring of 1978, Mark decided to suspend his painting career. He is frustrated with his current career path, driven by a strong desire to travel, desire to change the environment and find a new direction in life. When the poor invited him to Greece, he accepted without hesitation. I imagine my sister talking with anticipation. The missing feelings described are: let's visit historical sites together. The promise of exploring the best diving spots in Greece. For Mark, this trip means an urgent, required physical and mental restart. It is also an opportunity to rediscover the meaning of life, and he quickly booked his flight. And Cao arranged all the travel plans. At this moment, both siblings are quite skilled in diving. Although poor diving experience only a few years, but with his formidable technical capabilities and meticulous security awareness, famous for always double-checking equipment, meticulous preparation for every dive to ensure maximum safety. He has always placed caution on the guard, and that's why these tragedies only add to the confusion and difficult to accept. After months of intense preparation, early September 1978, Mark arrives in Athens. The siblings spent a few days together, relived a family, and together we visited the historical wonders of Athens. However, their conversation always revolves around the upcoming diving program on Lake Vuriagomeni. They had heard about divers missing at the bottom of the lake. From then on, the story that never appeared. But I didn't let these rumors destroy my character. After all, they only plan to stay in the water for a few hours. The plan is very simple. Dive into the cave, return to Athens, have a nice meal, then relax. However, as things unfolded that day, their expectations will be completely turned upside down. On September 9th, the siblings met with Donna. The latter will accompany them on the dive. The three are full of excitement. In perfect weather conditions, driving from Athens to Lake Vuriagomeni. Upon arrival, Mark was deeply moved by the magnificent beauty of the lake. As described earlier, they quickly removed the diving gear from the car and wear the whole machine. Donald, as the most experienced diver, serve as the team leader. However, despite their rich experience, they are on this dive. Initial neglect in water preparation. Committed a serious crime that is usually only committed by beginners. Error. It is particularly worth noting that they didn't bring enough lighting. Dough. Even though they knew there was no natural light source inside the cave, they didn't have a backup cylinder. This is for a short time. Common negligence in simple diving. But this oversight It is possible to encounter an accident when oxygen consumption exceeds expectations. Lethal consequences. However, the most serious mistake, it's because they didn't put a guide rope at the entrance to the cave. And that's basically what cave diving looks like. One of the most important safety measures. Guide rope is crucial. It also allows him to provide divers with a way back. The life infra, especially in the dark. Sediment diffusion. In an environment where it is easy to get lost, it is indispensable. Despite these significant omissions, under the leadership of Donald, 3 people still, entering the clear and warm lake with confidence. The water is steep towards the Hubei side. Swim to the cave entrance below the cliff. Reaching the cave entrance itself is not difficult, but the 3 were quickly forced by the cave entrance. The strong current was shocked. It feels almost like being sucked into the current. Although this means they went into the cave, it doesn't take much effort. But they also realize that on the return journey, especially when exhausted, when the oxygen is running out, it will be very difficult to escape from this current. Although it is expected that the flow inside the cave may become stronger, but they still underestimate this red flag. After all 3 are confident in their physical abilities, believe that you won't go too far, or expend too much energy. Therefore, one by one they pass through the narrow passage into the darkness. Inside the cave, they came across a huge gun chamber. Gun room. The giant tree known as Smoky Village stands. Well structure. 3 people stop briefly, admire this awe-inspiring sight, but soon moved on. About 120 meters forward, they reached another narrow passage. This passage narrow. They almost need to squeeze hard to get through. After passing through, it seems to lead to a larger chamber, where the current is stronger than before. At this point, they can only hold on to the rock to prevent yourself from being swept away by the current. Before we go any further, they tried to probe with a flashlight the situation ahead in the darkness, but due to the poor equipment, the light barely penetrates the darkness. All you see is a sudden drop in the ground. Although they were unable to confirm the true scale of the shooting, but vaguely feel, here more than ever, anywhere you've ever seen is vast. Driven by strong currents, they loosen the rock, was rushed into this huge gun room. What happened next is impossible to undo with certainty. But one thing is certain. Shortly after entering the gun test, Donald Mark Ho lost visual orientation to the cave entrance. Lost in the dark. Due to panic, their movements become disorganized. Stirs up the silt at the bottom of the gun. Visibility plummets in seconds. At this point, they lose their vision completely. Deep again. The depths of the cave are constantly pulled by strong currents. The danger increases with every second. Instinct may drive them to swim desperately, but in doing so, instead, it will make them be carried deeper by the current. Stay away from the exit, rather than returning to safety. Can't see the exit. With complete disorientation. Panic spread rapidly in the hearts of the 3. And it got even worse. They are likely to start showing symptoms of crime. This is a high-pressure underwater environment. similar intoxication after inhaling compressed gas, the state of wine, but it can lead to loss of pleasure and direction. Prompts divers to make impulsive and dangerous decisions. And in serious cases like theirs, but most can be done in just a few minutes, an ordinary dive transform into a deadly disaster. A few hours passed. Donald, Mark, and Joan still surface. The other divers became alert and promptly notified the authorities. Police and a professional search and rescue diving team rushed to the scene quickly. Unfolded against Vuriagomeni Lake and caves. Comprehensive search of the area near the entrance. However, they did not find any. The trace of the missing Americans. No contract found. Masks are usually used in diving. Equipment lost in a water accident. Ultimately, the elite submarines of the U.S. and Greek navies. Sailors also joined the search and rescue, but even experienced professionals. They were also unable to achieve more than the original rescue team. Good progress. The next morning, the harsh reality is gradually emerging. Unless the divers are in the cave, a rare bubble chamber was found inside. Otherwise, the chances of survival are minimal. Although this possibility exists, it's extremely unlikely. Ultimately, the search and rescue operation was carried out by a diver. Almost be strong. The current rips off the mask and was forced to terminate after being dragged deep into the cave. Fast forward to 1988. The Greek Ministry of Culture has invited Swiss divers Jean-Jacob Bollens, responsible for painting Vuriago, map of the unexplored area of Lake Vuriagomeni. During the many subsequent dives, Bronze discovered a huge central rifle. Interior space, over 1 million cubic yards, approximately 1.30 million cubic meters. Although he did not find it during his exploration, any sign of the missing American diver. But Brown speculated they are very likely entered this huge gun room. Lost your way there. He eventually suffocated to death due to oxygen depletion. His theory was considered a response to this tragedy, the most plausible explanation for the event. However, the case took a turn in 2006. Greek Van Hellenic Diving Association. 2 divers were found in the cave, stuck at a distance of about in narrow gaps at 50 and 40 meters. Shortly thereafter, a third body was found nearby. Surprisingly, one of the divers' cylinders. After nearly 30 years, there is still air left. This indicates their death. It may not have been caused by suffocation or drowning, but due to other factors. Due to the highly decomposed remains, the identity could not be immediately confirmed at first, but word quickly spread. We believe that these remains, probably 1978, the 3 missing American divers. The Greek authorities then conducted DNA tests. Initially came back negative, but after subsequent more detailed tests, final confirmation. The 3 bodies did indeed belong to Donald, Poor and Margot. That's the end of today's video. If you also like this kind of video, please consider following me. See you next time.